It's 7 p.m., March the 5th, 2020. Good evening and welcome to our monthly Sycamore Township meeting. Tonight's meeting is being videotaped and will be available on our township webpage. All of our trustee monthly meetings and workshop meetings will be available on our webpage and YouTube. We're working on CAM.
Almighty God, you have surrounded us with good things and have blessed us with families, friends, and communities that help to make our lives full. Guide our leaders so that their decisions may honor you and enhance the welfare of all the members of our community. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing if you can for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then.
Okay, if we can have our roll call. Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Here.
Mr. James?
Here.
Mr. Weedman?
Present.
You're up also for the for bills and receipts.
Yes. We had receipts of $744,523.75, disbursements of $1,020,629.84. A complete listing of all receipts and disbursements is available in the office for your review.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, if I could add, we do have the checks now automatically signed. As I mentioned to you before, Mr. Porter just has to okay the check register. But we do, and from time to time, we will have some manual checks, and this evening we have a few for the CIC. Okay. So one, just either of you have to sign also.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Planning and zoning report, Mr. Schuyler Miller.
Yes, sir. The only thing I have tonight is for your consideration, case number 2020-01MA. There are resolutions available if the board chooses to take action.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case 2020-01MA with the following conditions. Number one, new wall signs shall comply with Chapter 13 of the Sycamore Township zoning resolution unless superseded by the following conditions. Maximum total signage area of 92 square feet will be utilized per building. A maximum of 6 signs shall be permitted per building. Each sign shall have maximum dimension of 15 inches tall by 12 inches long. Sign design shall be limited to non-illuminated white stud-mounted letters and must be consistent font and style. Signage shall be placed on building facade facing Kenwood Road only, and no more than one wall sign per tenant.
And I'll second that. Discussion?
Just a few comments here. I noticed during the hearing, as we were looking at the map of where the property is, that when the township enacted the JEDZs, the JEDZ areas years ago, it carefully drew the lines to exclude anything that was residential at the time. And this property we're talking about now is one such property. It was residential then rather than commercial. In recent years, the township, I understand, has made a practice, certainly with the CIG project and perhaps with others, has stated its intention to form a JEDD, which is a different sort of district with the same effect. There's an income tax imposed in there to match up to the JEDS zones adjacent to it. For whatever reason, that wasn't done for this particular project, for these two buildings in the project like it was for the others. The opportunity to do that would have been at the time the zone change or plan change was granted, I think, just as was done with the CIG project. It's unfortunate the township didn't do that then, I suppose, although I'm hardly one who wants to impose taxes on anyone, I would say. I've never been thrilled we have the JEDs, even though I know it was necessary here. I suppose it's within our power to condition the change requested here for the signs upon the property owner consenting to that. I'm not inclined to do that, on the other hand. I don't think that's fair to change the rules of the game this late in it. But I think it's something we should keep in mind in the future. if the boundaries of what's residential and commercial change in an area where the JEDs already exist, I think we do need to look at that. But again, I'm not inclined to hold this project up for that. I think the signs that they've proposed are reasonable and proportionate for the building, based upon the tenant mix they'll have there, and it's a welcome addition to the community, it seems, there, and looks like we'll have some nice professional tenants in there.
Yeah, so let me just address that. As you know, the JEDZs that we put in were approved by the residents of Sycamore Township. About 82.5% of the residents approved the JEDZs. And their JEDs no longer exist other than those that are grandfathered. We did have conversations with the owners of this property. They were not inclined to put a JEDD on that property, and as you know, we can't supersede the owner of the property by going around them like we did like was available with the JEDZs. So his intent was not to put a JEDD on this property, and frankly, I agree with Tom that we're way past that path, and I wouldn't hold him hostage on the sign change just solely on the basis of a JEDD.
Scholar, the building that's just almost attached to it, they share the same parking lot, that's not a JED or a JDZ, is it?
I do not believe because of the topography that those parking lots are connected. Are they?
Yeah, they are.
They are now.
From
They're not.
I don't
Are
think
they?
there's
Yeah,
is there an
yeah,
internal
they are now.
connection?
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Well, then I recant that. So
They are not, but the
they're
board
not.
the border of the JEDZ is at the border of this property where the old
yeah,
where that
I mean,
house on the top of the hill used to be. So I mean, we can't impose anything additional on them because
right.
that's where the JEDZ ends.
Yeah, so if you're looking at this map, I realized it's turned sideways, so north is right. This is the Sycamore Executive Center 1, which is in the JEDZ. These properties, which were rezoned in 2018, that's the subject parcel or the property that we're looking at today for the signage amendment. So just north.
And for the public's reference, if you think we're talking about esoteric tax things here, and I know this is probably pretty dry, but Scholar, could you point out Festive Court on there as well? Some of you know where this is, but that's where the Capital Investment Group project is going in.
Right where 600 is on this map.
Yeah, and Ohio law does permit a property owner to consent to its property being placed in a Joint Economic Development District, or JEDD, within which an income tax could be imposed, just like the voters did in the broader areas where we have the JEDZ zones, and that's what we're talking about here. So the property owner could consent to that, and a township or a municipality or other jurisdiction with zones like that can condition zone changes or zoning approvals upon consent to doing that. But we're not, it sounds like the consensus is we're not pushing for that here, but I thought I'd explain what we're talking about if anyone was curious anyway.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could make a quick suggestion. I know we have a pending motion in a second, but we also have a resolution, I think, that mirrors the motion. So might be in order to withdraw the motion and just read the
I
resolution.
will withdraw that motion.
Thank you. So I've got a resolution approving a major adjustment to a plan unit development for the Myers Y. Cooper Company Real Estate Development located at 8250-8300 Kenwood Road, and dispensing with the second reading.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? We've gone through this. Go ahead, Deepak.
Mr.
Mr.
LaBarber?
Porter, excuse me. Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarber?
Yes, aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Okay, now we have residents' public comments. Public comments. Did anybody sign up for them?
Yes, Becky Gannis.
Okay, Becky, now, public comments, the guidelines are set up by last year's board, time limit of 4 minutes. You'll see the time on the screen, is that right, Skylar? Can we put that up again? Yeah, this time limit? If not, he's the keeper of the time.
Yep, give me 1 second.
And
I'm
this
sorry.
isn't a dialogue. We're not going to answer any questions. We may, after you're finished, we may answer those questions during our trustees' comments section, or you can leave us your contact information, and someone will get back to you. But you have 4 minutes. You can dance, you can sing, you can do whatever you want. You know?
My name is Becky Yen, the CIG neighbors, and I'd just like to bring up again for consideration, if at some point we open Happiness Way again, I would like you to consider having the exit from CIG onto Happiness Way be a right turn only toward Kenwood Road, because that would alleviate some concerns about traffic going into the neighborhood. The second thing I'd like to talk about is the existing issue that the neighborhood has with speeding and cut-through traffic. Now, some of my neighbors have suggested speed humps, and I guess they heard, but snowplows. So I have another suggestion. It would be difficult for me to explain it here, but I'd love to meet with someone at the township to draw it out and show them what I'm talking about. It's something that I saw in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is incredibly creative with their traffic calming and controls. And this solution would be low cost, would allow snowplows, would discourage cut-through traffic, and it would slow traffic down. So I would really love to meet with somebody about that. I don't know who I would.
I would think Tracy would be our.
Tracy?
Yes.
Sometime I'll make arrangements
Cards?
to do that.
Very good.
Last of all, I've been, of course, thinking about opening Happiness Way. But I also decided maybe I should go talk to my neighbors and make sure they feel the same way. So time is limited. I only had 3 afternoons to spend going and talking to my neighbors. That meant I didn't get to everyone. There were a couple small areas that I was not able to canvass. There were people who were not home or didn't answer their doors that I was not able to get to. Nonetheless, in 3 short afternoons, 94 people affixed their names to these documents saying that they would like the road open again. So, with your permission, I would like to approach and give you copies of these petitions. I have one for you and one for each of the trustees. And that's really all I have tonight. What I can say is that there was overwhelming and significant support for opening Happiness Way back up again. Part of the reason is because it is closed now. People now understand how very much this has inconvenienced them. They don't like it. So I hope you will consider opening it up again, at least at some point.
Becky, thank you. The speed bumps, we don't have any speed bumps in Sycamore Township.
No, sir.
So that's how the right turn only, if we did ever open that up, makes sense, going up to Galbraith Road. But we did have large discussions about this. This issue came up a number of times in 2018, 2019, when we were talking with Capital. And we had 125 people in the room for all those meetings, at least 100 people. And the consensus at that time, Mr. Weidman was here, was that they wanted Happiness closed at that point. So, but we can look into this and have some discussion on this.
I think I mentioned in a previous meeting that, you know, it's consistent with what I said in a previous meeting, but I think the most important thing is if we open this during construction, I think the neighbors are not going to be happy. Because we can't tell somebody not to drive on a public road. So you're going to get more construction traffic than you can imagine on that street. I mean, I'm more than happy if everybody wants to open it up. I think it's great. Let's open it back up after construction. But I just don't think you'll be very happy if it's open during construction, because I think you're going to have all sorts of problems. We've experienced this every time we've had construction situations in the township with construction traffic. So, I mean, I think
I think that people
Could you come to the microphone again, Becky, please? Thank you.
if I might respond, I think that people could accept the road being closed at least during part of construction, but I think the desire is that it should be opened as soon as it is practical.
Okay, that makes more sense. But right now, while the construction is going on, what's going to happen is you're going to have people who work on that construction site parking vehicles on the street. That's going to be inevitable. And there's also
They can do that
This
now.
also could be a dangerous situation with the construction going on and the vehicles going on Happiness Way. A safety issue.
I had a question. Were there any neighbors who you talked with who refused to sign? I'm curious.
There were just a handful. Most of them were just of the, I just don't sign anything. There was one that refused, and the other one said he just didn't care. And that was it. Everyone else was like, yeah, we want this.
Okay.
Well, I think that's a good opportunity for us to have a public meeting,
Yeah.
bring everybody in, let them explain what they want and why they want it, and we're open to doing that. It's just, I just think that under construction, I think it would probably not be such a good idea.
And one other request, if you would.
Yeah.
I expect this Netherlands-style thing you were talking about, you've probably seen this online, or is there a video or something?
I was not able to find one. I could probably have my cousin in the Netherlands go take pictures. I can draw it.
I was just going to ask if you have some way to share
Yeah.
it with others. I'd like
I
you to
don't know
email
what
me
it's
something.
called. I would have to ask him. So,
Okay, if you could share a drawing or
yeah,
something,
I
I'd
could
like
share
to
a
see it too.
drawing.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Becky. Ray, do we have any,
Yes,
Other-
Mr. Janis?
Mr. Janis?
Thank you. My name is Jay Janis Jr. I live in Sycamore Township, Ohio. Thank you for allowing me to speak. March is National Brain Injury Awareness Month. As some of you within the sound of my voice know, some of you who will be seeing this on TV may know, I've been there, am there, and will always be there. So in conjunction with all the other awareness months throughout the year, I would ask all of you, when you have a moment and your leisure, to please give some ponderance and reflection upon that issue. Next, as many of you also know, I and others have at times have asked for request for public records. In the past administration and in the current administration, I and others have experienced at times challenges with that. So as some of you may already know, several years ago the Ohio General Assembly passed a law that says once each term of elective office for elected officials in Ohio, they must attend a state certified training class 3 hours in length, which is taught by either a lawyer from the state auditor's office or the state attorney general's office. This year, in conjunction with Daniel Paul Reginald, a business owner of a business in Springdale, Ohio, I'm sponsoring a class on Tuesday, March 18th, 2020 in Springdale, Ohio at the Empower You Studio with Frame USA. Runs from 10 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. This is our third annual. This is also will be the first in Greater Cincinnati class of this type of this year during the Ohio Sunshine Law Week, which is that week. For lawyers and paralegals, the Ohio Supreme Court has granted 3.0 continuing legal education units. If anyone is interested, they can pre-register now at the empoweruohio.org site, or they can get in contact with me or any of the trustees and give me your name, your email address, and your phone number, and we'll be glad to add you to the list. Even though this is primarily for elected officials, anyone is welcome to attend. It is free. You will get a certificate attendance if you arrive on time and attend the entire class. I've found it over the years to be very beneficial. I would hope others here that have been there may wish to rejoin us, and maybe some of the issues that I and others have had could get resolved through that class. We've had some issues with the meeting minutes. They've been posted online, other resolutions where they've said as attached, they're not, and there is no attachment. So if anyone wishes to know if anyone reads that, obviously I do. So I would ask that all of you who are involved with that, you work to make sure that whatever is posted as attached, it is posted on the online as well as the official meeting books. At the beginning of this year, Trustee James, and when Trustee LaBarbera ran, they were interested in transparency. As many of you can tell, these meetings are now regularly audio-visually recorded and promptly put online. Working with Trustee James, Trustee LaBarbera, Administrator Warwick, Zoning Director Miller, and some others, I'm proud to say many platforms are available, including paper format before the meeting. With Mr. Desai, we have the PowerPoint, and he'll frequently explain each resolution in detail. The meeting minutes, the drafts, the proposals, the resolutions are posted online in advance. The meeting agendas are posted online in advance. I find that to be admirable. Is that my time?
At a time, sorry, I didn't know it was gonna make noise.
Am I done?
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Jay. I'll say that class is good. That's an excellent class. I got a little certificate last year.
One last thing just for everybody. Mr. LaBarbera and Mr. James campaigned on
Transparency.
and I admire everyone that's advocate for transparency.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. And I would add, I've taken that auditor-sponsored training before, and I'm signed up for the class that Mr. Janis is speaking of at Empower University. I'd recommend it to anyone who's got an interest in open records and government, and those of us who are elected officials are required to go to training anyway, periodically during our term. But as a lawyer, free continuing legal education is a great thing, too, so I'm happy to go enjoy that.
Ray, anybody else?
Yes, Chris Monzel.
Good to see Chris. Chris is busy this time of the year.
Just a little bit. Thank you very much. I'm Chris Monzel. I live in Glendale, Ohio, and I was a former Cincinnati City Councilman as well as Hamilton County Commissioner, and I'm running for State Representative for House District 28, which Sycamore Township is in. So I just wanted to come around and talk to you about the issues that I'm going to be working with, as well as others that you might have that we need to work up at the state legislature, such as public education, which Sycamore Schools is a critical public education system that we have in District 28. As well as job creation, and then also public safety, making sure that we have the resources and the tools necessary for our first responders and public defenders help us keep our community safe. But there's other issues that you might have. Please reach out to me because I think it's really important from a township perspective, especially how state law influences you. That's your legislature up there, and you want to make sure that you're getting the laws that are necessary to help improve Sycamore Township. So I have deep roots in this community. I actually went to high school right up the street at Moeller High School in Sycamore Township. So, and then also I've worked here and I've raised my family here. So District 28 and the communities here are really close to my heart and really mean a lot to me. And also had an opportunity to coach a few of my kids' sports teams in some of the gymnasiums through Sycamore school system. We never always, in fact, we just actually lost to Sycamore. This is my youngest boy, sophomore in high school. We're coaching his rec team. And we were up in the Final Four for the league tournament, and we lost to Sycamore. So if I had to lose to anybody, it'd be great to lose to Sycamore. So it was a great game, good team. But I've just been very blessed to be able to grow up here and work here and raise my family here. And it's just a great district, and there's a lot of great things that we want to do up in Columbus. And I think the key is just common sense, and really trying to find that common ground, that civility that's missing so much in our public discourse today, that I want to bring that up to Columbus to make sure that we're providing the legislation that's necessary to help all Ohioans, especially those in House District 28. And I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Janis for sponsoring that class for the public records. I know my staff from the county commission went to it, and it was very informative, and really appreciate citizens standing up and providing that for folks, because transparency is very important. And I do have to regret, I am going to actually go over to Empower You Studio right now, as they have a meeting going on tonight about issue 7, and so I apologize, I'm going to have to leave and go to that to listen about that debate for that issue that's on the ballot here in March 17th. But again, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Look forward to working with you and bringing those common sense solutions to Columbus. Thank you very much, and God bless. Have a great night.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Warwick?
Yeah, we have Paula Bream Hager.
Good evening. I'm Paula Brumheger, and I am the Eva Jane Romaine Coombe Library Director for the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. That's my official title, and I have to say it every time I'm anywhere. And I feel like we might, it's an endowed position, so I always think maybe I get some syndication dollars for saying that, but I'm not sure that's true. Thank you all for giving me a few minutes to speak with you. I'm here representing the library. I'm a citizen of the city of Cincinnati, but tonight I'm here as the library director. We have a facilities master plan that has been released. We worked on it all of 2019, and we released that right at the end of the year. I brought tonight one section of it. It's about a 114-page plan. It is all available on our website. You can look at that if you have a couple of hours to review it. But the portion of the plan that I brought this evening deals with the Northeast Zone, and for the library, that involves the Deer Park and Dillonvale community that are in Sycamore Township, and it's the one branch that I'm here to highlight a bit tonight. We had wonderful engagement sessions over the summer with all of our communities. We have 40 branch libraries, a main library, and a distribution center, about 1 million square feet of space. So we're all throughout the county. We had a great session in Deer Park. I think some of the folks who are our trustees were there. I think Mr. James, maybe you were there? Yes. So we had about 70 people. There was so much engagement around what we might do at Deer Park. And one of the suggestions that came out of that was to consider moving to the former TJ Maxx site that is in the Dillonvale shopping mall. If you're familiar with the Deer Park Library, it's in Dillonvale. It's been there since the early 70s, and it's been in that mall in different places. It's about 4,100 square feet right now, one of our smallest locations, one of the 5 smallest locations. But the recommendation that we consider the 25,000 square foot space that TJ Maxx had previously been in, that we move down there and make that one of our signature next generation libraries. We are pursuing that. We have several projects in the works. That one does appear to be one that we feel it's a reasonable suggestion. It's going to give us an option to have a really amazing library in this area. And our plan does not currently call for any consolidations or closures. So what we're trying to do is build on the successes that we've had. And Deer Park, while a small library, is quite busy. So we've done a number of special programs there, including preschool programs for young folks to really build literacy in that community. We're very excited about going down the mall and offer people an opportunity to really experience the library in the way they have previously, but really offer expanded services. And the specifics we have not worked out yet, but we are using dollars that were approved in 2018 by voters in Hamilton County with a 1 mil levy for 10 years. And we are trying to make our dollars work as quickly as we can for us. I don't have to tell you all that dollars that are approved, they don't go as far as they do at the end of your levy as they do at the beginning of the levy. So we have multiple projects going on, including in 3 of our locations that are not handicap accessible: Price Hill, Walnut Hills, and Madisonville. But the project in Deer Park, because of the opportunity and the fact that we can do it fairly quickly, may happen sooner rather than later. We are working to perhaps begin that project this year and possibly end and open a new library in the Dillonvale Mall by the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021, depending. So I just wanted to come and make sure that you all knew what was going on. Deer Park and Dillonvale are both, of course, in Sycamore Township, so I've been to many other community council meetings in the area, but I wanted to make sure and talk to the folks over here, make you aware. I did bring copies of the plan. It is online, but I wouldn't want to show up without a handout. I am a librarian. Got to give you something. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate Mr. Warwick giving me the time to talk tonight as well.
Thank you. So the timeline is the end of 2020, early 21.
For the opening, yes.
Right.
But we are working to confirm a lease and move forward pretty quickly. So we may see action in the next couple of months.
Is there anything we can do as a township to help facilitate that?
I just encourage everyone to be aware. Please let your constituents know. One of our major planning principles, and it's been the theme tonight, is transparency. So we are doing our best to make sure that everyone is aware. We held our meetings about the engagement, and now we're out there trying to make people aware that the plan is happening. We have multiple community meetings happening right now this spring. We intend to continue that dialogue, and when it comes time to hopefully open that, we'll be here asking you if you will enthusiastically support us and come to our opening events and really make sure that all of your constituents know the library is here for everyone.
Paula, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. And is it okay if I leave these here?
Absolutely.
Is that okay? Thank you.
Ray, anybody else?
I don't have anybody else on the list.
Okay, anybody in the audience that didn't get a chance to sign up, wants to talk? So your wife's here?
I don't think she wants to talk.
Kroger list or anything? No? Okay. And next up now, we're going to go to the Sheriff Patrol report with Lieutenant Smith.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything of significance to report this evening. I was asked by a couple of residents to talk about domestic violence protocol. However, I don't see those folks in the audience. I can postpone that, or I can move forward with an abbreviated version. Your pleasure. We had some questions. I think the concerns and questions resulted from the incident we had on East Kemper Road earlier this year, where we unfortunately tragically had a murder-suicide. That residence was not on our radar. The folks involved, either party, the male and female, those folks were not on our radar. These were not people that we had frequent contacts with or anything like that. It was kind of out of the blue. We were just as surprised as I think the community and residents were. In terms of domestic violence protocol, from an operational standpoint, it's obviously a priority run. If we receive a call for a domestic dispute or domestic violence incident, that is a two-person run. No matter what, the Hamilton County Communications Center will send 2 deputies no matter what. And if we happen to be tied up on lower priority runs, we will break off those runs. We will stop what we're doing to answer the domestic call. In terms of what we do, domestic, there are several facets to law enforcement where there's a lot of gray area. We operate in the gray all the time, and we also are able to use discretion a lot of the time. Domestic violence is not one of those areas. Over the years, the decades, domestic violence laws have tightened up quite a bit. I think you can all think of maybe a movie or a television show, or maybe you have firsthand personal knowledge of a domestic violence incident that occurred. And I think you can think about a scenario where police officers historically have gone into a dwelling or a residence, and they've tried to mediate, or they've focused on separating the parties and just getting people calmed down, and maybe one half goes one way and the other goes the other. And then not a whole lot of swift, hard action is done at that point. Those days are long gone. The number one objective, the primary objective when we investigate domestic violence, is to establish what is called the primary physical aggressor. A couple, a married couple, household members, family members, they can debate, argue, they can do whatever they want, but as soon as violence or physical harm is brought into play, brought to the table, that changes things, and we determine who the primary physical aggressor is, and our course of action is arrest. It is physical arrest. And when I say that, that is not a summons to court. That is not a citation or anything like that. That means a custodial arrest. That person goes to jail. When you look at crime stats in the township, for instance, in 2019, there were 29 reported auto thefts, but only 9 of those were closed or solved, if you will. Simple thefts, 603 thefts, just under 200 thefts were closed or solved. Arrests were made or charges were filed in those instances. So domestic violence is quite a bit different from property crimes and things of that nature. In 2019, we had 60 reported incidents of domestic violence, and in 56 out of 60 cases, we made an arrest. In 2018, respectively, 71 cases of reported domestic violence, and in 68 incidents, we made a physical arrest. So this isn't a whodunit. This is a personal crime that occurs between family and household members. And again, the preferred course of action all the time is physical arrest. We look at the totality of circumstances, and if sufficient probable cause exists, we will absolutely arrest. Obviously, after the incident, post-incident, a lot of focus and attention is directed towards the victim's rights, protection and care of that victim. Temporary restraining orders are issued by the court. There's a number of things that we fill out and present to the court to help judges make better or more informed decisions when setting things like bond and stuff like that. So it's complicated. I could go on all night about it. I was hoping that the folks that were asking the questions were here so we could talk. But that is an overview of domestic violence. I'd be happy to answer any questions. My phone number and email is on the website. Anybody have any questions tonight, I'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks, Lieutenant. We're going to move over now to our EMS and fire report. Penny is up.
Thank you. I sent you guys the monthly report for February, and it is on our website right now for anyone who wants to view that. The The coronavirus is the hot topic going on now. I will have to say that it changes daily with the number of deaths, the number of people affected. It's hard to sit up here and give you a report on the statistics because it's constantly changing. The coronavirus is also known as a COVID-19 infection. Sometimes you'll hear the medical professionals call it by that. It originally spread from seafood, and the animal market is where it originally came from, the bats and all the weird stuff that some people are marketing. And now it's mainly being spread through person-to-person contact, which is where we're at this point. It can spread by respiratory droplets that are produced in affected person coughs, sneezes, or in close contact. So, by touching a surface, object where the virus has been, but touching your mouth, nose, eyes is how you're going to contract it. So, if the droplets from someone sneezing or coughing, drooling, anything like that, it gets on a surface, or someone sneezes or coughs towards you, you're gonna get it. The worst part with this virus versus a regular flu is it's twice as contagious as the flu. That's probably one of the most leading differences between just your common flu and this virus is how contagious it is. So that's where it is very important to take the precautions. The more common symptoms is fever. 98% of cases has the fever. Cough, 82%, fatigue, 11%, shortness of breath, sore throat. Those are going to be the main symptoms that you're going to have. The less common is the sputum production, headache, the hematitis, which is coughing up blood, diarrhea, and the weird thing is the symptoms can appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. So you can be in contact with this stuff, and it could be 14 days later before you actually catch it. So you don't really even know where you were or who you got it from or anything like that is the problem. The other bad thing, which is what is causing most of the deaths, is as the virus worsens, it goes into bilateral pneumonia. And that's where the real respiratory problems come in. That's where the older, more senior people start struggling with trying to keep their respirations up, is because of the bilateral pneumonia. So the preventive actions, pretty much the same as the flu. Wash your hands, soap and water, at least 20 seconds. Use an alcohol-based sanitizer. Make sure any sanitizer you buy has at least 60% alcohol to it. I think most of them are 62. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, nose with unwashed hands. Avoid contact with people that are sick. Safe distance is 6 feet, which is what CDC is recommending. Cover your cough, sneeze with tissue, then throw it away. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. Mask up persons that are affected. Very important. When this virus started out, everybody was going out buying masks. A mask on you will not protect you. A mask on the sick person will protect you. We purchased 40 of these kits. They're the flu kits. They have the N95 mask in them, and they also have regular surgical masks. They have hand sanitizers and so on. The N95 masks are very, very hard to come by nowadays. And if this mask is on the sick person and they cough and sneeze, it's not going to get past the mask to spread. If you have it on and they cough and sneeze and it gets on the mask or anywhere on your body and you touch your eyes, even though you got a mask on, you touch your eyes, even as far as females bringing a hair back behind the ears, is going to affect you. So it's not where CDC has been saying don't go out and buy masks because you're taking the mask away from the people that need it, which are the sick people. So it's very important that if you do come upon somebody that has this virus, or even a flu at this point, because you can't really tell if they have it or not, is to get one of these masks on them, so to protect them, or protect you from them. As far as the EMS providers, ourselves, we have the Hamilton County Communications Center has a questionnaire that they do to every caller that calls in saying they're sick or having the flu-type symptoms. They do go through the series of questions that to find out if they've been traveling, so on and so forth, and they will relay that information to our medic units. So we are somewhat prepared when we go into their house or go to their place where they're at, that we're protected ourselves. So we do have disposable gloves, isolation gowns, face masks, face shields. We do have the kits, and one of the things CDC recommends is that we don't allow family members that have been in the house with an infected person to ride in the front of the medic unit to the hospital, which normally we'll do that, but we're trying to keep that separation away. If you get sick, stay at home, do not go to work, do not go around public areas. Try to stay in a separate room of the house. Avoid being around your pets. CDC or anyone else has not determined if this virus is going to affect pets. If pets can travel, if you sneeze on your dog or your cat, whether they can jump up on your lap and become the contagious carrier. So try to stay away from the pets. If you do have to be around family members, pets, so on and so forth, put the mask on. If you're the sick person, put the mask on and wash your hands before and after you've been in contact with other people or your pets. So, and one of the things that the Kleenex, the antiviral tissue Kleenex that you can buy, Kleenex brand has it. If you ever seen it, it's like a tissue, but it has little blue dots in it. That has a germicide in it that'll kill 99.9% of germs. So you get those Kleenexes, and anytime you cough and sneeze into the Kleenex, and then throw the Kleenex away. Don't put it in your pocket and use it for the next sneeze. Throw it away, and that will kill the germs in the Kleenex, and you're discarding it, and then get a fresh one out for the next time. So those are good to have. If you have a fever, cough, shortness of breath associated with a sharp stabbing feeling in the chest area, go to a medical facility. If you are home self-treating yourself for the flu, it's fine. If you start to get shortness of breath and you start becoming to where you might have pneumonia, you need to get to a medical facility. Don't treat yourself at home. If you take a deep breath and count to 5, while you're taking a deep breath, count to 5, how far you can go. If you have pneumonia, count to 1, and it'll shut you off. So try it. Try once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do it. Count to 1 and stop breathing. Stop it. That's what pneumonia is like. Pneumonia, once your lung fills up with pneumonia, it's like a stabbing sensation in your lung. And as soon as you start to take a breath in, you'll get about 1 second in, and it'll feel like somebody's sticking a knife in you, and it'll just stop your breathing. Your natural reaction to breathing is, when you feel that pain, is to shut your breathing down. So you end up panting like a dog trying to get your breath, and that's where your O2 sats start going down, and that's where you start getting into distress. And when that happens, it creates more fluid in the lungs, and it just makes you worse. So if you get to the point where you do have sharp pain in your chest, trying to breathe in, you can't get your breath in, you need to get to a hospital. So that's about all I have on it. Hopefully this stuff goes away soon.
I'll ask you the question I asked the other morning, too, since we have some of the public here. One of the things we've seen in the news is in Kirkland, Washington, which is a hot spot, the fire department actually got exposed and was quarantined. Are you as confident as you can be that we're well equipped to reduce that risk here?
Yes, I am. And the reason why is because they got affected early on. Nobody really had their guards up yet. And what happened was they had a nursing home out there that had a lot of infected people. And because the department made so many runs to that place, they quarantined the whole crew because everybody was exposed to that building. And not everybody had it, but they wanted to quarantine the whole department based on how many members made so many runs into that building that was a contaminated building. So that's the reason they did that, which was a smart move. It'd be like if we had Carrots Court or the Seasons that had a whole wing that had a bunch of people with that virus, and we're in there making runs all day long. It's like, wait a minute, you know. So that's the reason that happened. Since then, I think there's been a lot more awareness to the problem. A lot more departments and like us with buying these things are gearing up to deal with it.
Okay.
So I'm pretty confident we've got a pretty good stock of everything we need. All of our guys are well versed of what the problem is, the symptoms to look for, and we also have the communications center on board to run through the protocol of the questions to the caller to get a heads up on it.
So you've got all the equipment and supplies you need right now, too.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks.
Chief, thank you.
You're welcome.
Save me some money and don't have to buy a mask now. Sick person can have the masks.
That's right.
And they're all over the place. Go to the mall, they're walking all over the place. The walkers, they got the mask on. All right, Tracy Kellums, roads and maintenance recreation report.
The only thing I have since Tuesday is that tomorrow will be the first advertisement for our 2020 curb and sidewalk project. That will be in the newspaper, and we'll have it on the website.
Thank you, Tracy. And
Question.
Teapot, oops, sorry.
Caught you with a Columbo question there again. Okay. Tracy, question about Happiness Way again. I know we had the discussion that Ms. Gannis brought up earlier, but in a recent meeting, we also talked about the hospital's concerns about lack of access to their driveways for deliveries, and they're having to go through the ambulance entrance for that. And I noticed none of the fences have moved at all. Have you had any discussions with the hospital and the construction crew about that? And can you update us?
Yes, we've had a couple discussions. In fact, I had a meeting with the hospital personnel and CIG yesterday at the hospital, and we have come to a good conclusion altogether. We're just going to move the fence past the first driveway, which used to go into the bank, and then the rest is going to remain up, because past there, we're actually the contractor's actually getting ready in a couple weeks here to tear that up, because there's a sewer project that goes through there. So the road's going to be impassable anyway. But the hospital was fine with what we discussed.
Good, thank you.
If I could make one comment on a personal experience with Happiness Way, if you open it up during construction, I can't tell you how many times we've made runs to construction sites for people injured and get nails and debris in the tires like you wouldn't believe. There's workers in and out of there with stuff on their trucks, and it falls off on the street and everything else. So if you do open it up, word of warning. You could be heading to Bob Summerall right after you leave the street.
One other question about that. I had to ask you this when a resident who's here tonight had asked me about this. Some of the fire hydrants in the area are actually captive inside the fence, but all of your trucks have equipment to unlock that immediately when you get to it, right?
We put the Knox box padlock on there. On the gate that we only have the key to, so we can unlock that portion of it. We can unlock the gate. If we can't unlock it, we'll cut it.
Okay.
But we'll get to the hydrant. That's the least of our worries.
Tracy, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, Law Director, Teapot to sign.
Nothing to report.
Administrative report. Administrator.
Yeah,
Warwick.
I snuck one thing in at the last minute, and I apologize, but in front of you I put a letter from Dinsmore. They represent the township. One of their lawyers represents us on bond and TIF kinds of activities. And I think they do this as an abundance of caution. They just wanted to point out to us that they also represent Fifth Third Bank, who's involved in some of this bond financing. And so they want to bring that to our attention. There's not going to be a problem unless Fifth Third is involved in a project with the township, and if that's the case, then Dinsmore would have to recuse himself. And so they're simply asking with this letter for you to note that Dinsmore's representation of Fifth Third in unrelated matters, they are a client, and that Dinsmore's continued representation of Sycamore Township in any and all municipal security matters, current and in the future, just pointing out where the conflict might be if there ever was one. And if I could get a simple motion giving me permission to sign this.
Make a motion to allow our administrator to sign this conflict waiver between Sycamore Township and Fifth Third Bank as it relates to Dinsmore.
You have a second.
I do have a question. I don't have a concern about this myself. I see that they're building in here what we attorneys used to call a Chinese wall. I don't know if you can still call it that these days or not, but it's a structure where within the firm they will not be sharing information or confidential matters between the attorneys working for Fifth Third and the attorneys working for Sycamore Township. But let me ask our law director, do you have any concerns about this?
No, I think as Mr. Warwick explained it and you expanded upon it, it leaves us in a role where we can be comfortable with our privacy and their loyalty to us.
Very good.
Ray, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Porter,
Mr. LaBarbera?
your fiscal report?
We need to vote on this.
We got a
Oh,
motion.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes, aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Rubin?
Aye.
Okay, now your report?
Wait, 1 second. Someone's signaling that it's hard to hear back there. Is everyone able to hear us back there? Okay.
You're just stretching. Somebody was stretching.
We'll speak louder.
Flexing,
Maybe that
you're just
speaker's off.
flexing. Okay,
I have no report tonight.
no report tonight from Mr. Porter. Trustees' comments. Mr. Weaver?
I don't have anything besides what I mentioned on Tuesday.
Mr. James?
I'll just mention something here. In addition to the seminar on March 18th that Mr. Janis mentioned regarding Ohio Sunshine Laws and so forth, there's another event that day that someone asked me to mention to everyone. I'll mention this here. The Indian Hill Historical Society is having an event on the fight for women's suffrage and having a presentation by a lady named Catherine Durant, who I've seen present twice on this topic. It's the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in America, and if any of you do have interest in that, she makes a fascinating presentation. I'm happy to provide you information about it. If you didn't know, it is the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in America, so celebrate, please. Thank you.
I have no comment. Announcement changes. Special Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, Monday, March 9th, 4:30, right here in the Township Administration Building. We're canceling the Zoning Commission meeting on Monday, March 9th at 6 p.m. Canceling the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, Monday, March 16th, at 6:30 here in the Township Building. And for scheduled meetings without changes, see the published calendar. It is available on our website.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for coming.